Hey everybody, my guest today is Liz Tuccillo. Liz was a writer on Sex and the City and co-authored the best-selling book He's Just Not That Into You. She went on to create the WB TV series Related and worked on the TV shows Smash, Sweet Bitter, Alaska Daily, and American Sports Story. She was the showrunner for the HBO show Divorce for its third season, but she is currently, as we speak today, in March of 2026, she's the showrunner and creator of Best Medicine that you can find on Fox TV, which is an adaptation of the British series Doc Martin. Her series, Best Medicine, stars Josh Charles. And guess what, guys? It was recently picked up for season 2. Also, she has developed TV shows or films for some other up and comers like Will Smith, Chelsea Handler, Deborah Messing, Ali Wentworth, Lauren Graham, among others. And those shows are at so many different networks and streaming platforms and studios, but also people around the globe. She is really my most favorite playwright. So that's how we first met many moons ago. But one of the most original, singular, beautiful writers' voices. I feel like if I were a writer, which I so am not, I would wish to be Liz Tuccillo. Hi, Liz Tuccillo.
Hi, Alana. That is the loveliest introduction and crazy and great. And thank you so much.
By the way, half of it, like that's actually half of the thing. So when everyone finishes listening and falls so deeply in love with you in Google, they'll be
Ah,
like, wait, that too? All right. I want to start with like today because we could spend 7 hours on Sex in the City. We'll spend 7 minutes on that journey because that was the beginning of a really cool writing for television career. But today, as we speak, I just want to get a sense of like you are now a showrunner of a very popular, beloved new show that was based on a popular, beloved British show. And I'd love to hear a little bit. Wait, congratulations, season 2. Like
thank you. Thank
that's
you.
no small thing, my love. Tell us a little bit about like how this happened and now it's happening and how you cherry picked the most glorious cast and like what is it like? You can answer in any like order that you want. Maybe you just want to tell me like what do you have to do today for Best Medicine?
Today we are just today I just got off a Zoom with two gentlemen who were the characters that were Greg and George, who are our innkeepers, were modeled after, and they're the ones that I first talked to about modeling it after a small town in Maine, and they were friends of friends. And I was just on the phone with them, asking them about fishing licenses because I wanted to, like, for the next season 2, there's questions about fishing and fishermen, and so I was getting ready for the writers' room that starts on Monday.
So even though you're like the head of the show and the head writer and in charge of everything, you're also doing your own research.
Yeah, because you don't really want to show up on the first day of the writers' room when you're the boss and like not have any ideas. You know, I mean, I think no one would blame me, but it would be
Yeah.
better to probably have something to start the conversation than like, hey, what do you think?
What do you think? And how do fishing licenses work? And also knowing you so well, like, of course you know all about fishing. That's your, when we get to the little known facts, like, that's
Yeah,
your,
that's it. I'm a fisherman. Yeah. Yeah. The deep sea blue tuna. I don't know.
probably all the things. Those were all words that seemed like they had to do with fish. Were you familiar with Doc Martin, the British series?
No, I was not at all. Didn't know it existed, didn't know anything about it. And then it was the weirdest thing because usually the way you get TV shows on the air is that it's like your idea or it's from a book and you decide to like develop it and pitch it and then they say yes and then you develop it. And I've been doing that for a bazillion years and my shows never get on the air. They don't even get made into pilots. It's just like been like, and I made a good living with my life. I got to stay in New York, but really nothing was on the air. And then this show, so I was with the attitude of like nothing gets on the show, nothing gets on the air. And then this show, though, it was something where Fox had the property themselves and they were looking to hire a writer for it. So at this point, I wasn't sure, like I was sort of like, okay, my career's over. COVID happened. I was just like, it's all over for me. And then for some reason that for some reason I was on a list for them to say, would you like to pitch on it? And then I did. And then for some reason they hired me. And then I wrote a script and I was like, well, okay, now this is when all the dreams go to die. And then they were like, no, we love it. Do another script. I'm like, what? And then they were like, and then I wrote another script. Like, well, this is when dreams go to die. And then they were like, no, we love it. Like, what? Let's talk about like who you might like to be in it, or let's talk about like just never stopped. It was like, I kept waiting for it to be over, and it never was over. It was the strangest experience.
So did you sort of like have were did you task yourself with watching the British version
Yes.
and then go like, okay, how do I make this an American version?
Yes.
And is what we're seeing on TV every week very close to what your original concept was?
Yes, in a way, it really was. I mean, the thing that they said in the beginning, which they always sort of say, is like blue sky, like whatever your take is, we're open for anything. They could be the Doc Martin can now be a woman, it could be somebody like it can be anything. And I watched the original and I loved it. And I was sort of like, I'm maybe just deeply unimaginative, but I just love the show and I don't really want to change it except for like sort of freshening it up and modernizing it and Americanizing it. But I didn't really need to do some big conceptual overhaul because I just thought it worked. And it was just really imbuing it with my just sort of passion of like small town community, like everybody knowing everybody's name, like that, just that love of that sort of this community of it. And I just sort of really leaned into that and added the innkeepers, Greg and George, based on these men, Barry and Bob that I know. And yeah, and then making and turning, Aunt Sarah was Aunt Joan and she was a farmer and now she's a lobster woman, but like really minor, I mean, very minor changes.
So, for people who don't know you and are meeting you today, you're a New York girl. You're a
Yes.
city girl.
Yes.
And yet you have managed to create in this show a town that everyone, like, I literally want to go live in that town. Like,
Me
it is
too.
a world, right? Like, well, you get to live in it for as long as the shooting months. Um, when you sort of thought like, okay, the ideal, like if I can literally out of my imagination create the town that I wished I lived in. I mean, in a way, it's like you, Liz Tuccillo, went to go be this doctor in best medicine, right?
Ah,
Like it
interesting.
feels
Yeah.
right. Like not that you're allergic to blood or would pass out if I needed you to help me with a cut, but I do think it's really smart. It is a smart inroad to a world that is actually real. I mean, it's in Technicolor for television, but like these places exist. And then added to it with like a romanticized version. Like, what if everyone led with their kindest selves and also funny? Like, I know how funny is so important to you in your life, and even just your description of how like this was never going to happen. It's the funniest, like most like don't do a TED talk. Don't do any kind of inspirational
No,
talk.
it's all terrible. It's
Um,
all horrible.
you're like,
It'll
don't
never happen.
listen to me. Why do you think because that's just the nature of this business, right? And even though you said none of them got made, actually some of them did get made, but most didn't when we look at your career. Um, and obviously if we go back when I first met you as the glorious playwright that you are, it was a chance meeting from a friend's introduction to Michael Patrick King that really began this whole thing. And I wonder when you look back, that's a long time ago now, we've had yet another series with these women. It goes and goes and goes. Um, how did you know you would be so good at writing for television and understanding that format, which is different than playwriting?
Right. I really didn't. I really didn't. I just wanted I was deeply like not confident. I wasn't like somebody, I was so ambitious and I was so determined, but I wasn't necessarily like confident. So when I met with Michael Patrick King, it was just more sort of like I had sort of wrangled my friend to make an introduction, and I was just more like, oh, well, maybe someday in the future, like for the show he has, and maybe I could be like a staff early writer, or maybe I could even just like be an assistant. But I wasn't really like, I'm going to be great at tell. And then when I got the job and I went there, like sort of similar to making your point for you, like I left because it ended up that strangely the writers' room was in LA in the beginning, and I just left and I said to everybody like I'm gonna get fired and I'll be back in 2 weeks. So don't get no teary goodbyes because I'll be set your watch, fired, fired.
Don't
And
even
even
water
when I was
the
in the room, I was like, I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna get fired.
Is that okay? So, Alana, don't even worry about watering my plants. They'll be fine for the 10 minutes I'm gone.
Yeah.
When you got to LA, to this room filled with writers, having not written for television before, like I know you're a researcher and you're such a smart person and you can catch up quickly to things, but were you literally like, were you hired to be a staff writer, having never written on a television show before?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I thought when my agent called and said, you know, because the way Michael did it was like all very kind of subtle. Like he met with me and then he was like, I want you to meet my friend, my producer, and another writer. He was just a very cat. And I was like, what? And he's like, and then I met with them and they were all so friendly that, but I didn't, they weren't like, we're hiring you. Like they just was all sort of like, just a light touch to probably just to make me not make me nervous. And then my agent called and he said, they're hiring you on Sex and the City. And I was like, and I just thought, okay, like an assistant? Like, what are my job responsibilities? He's like, no, as a writer. And I was like, what? It was very crazy. And then on my first day on the job, they had just won an Emmy, I think the night before. So I walk in not just to Sex and the Cities in its fifth season, it's already this juggernaut, but then also like an Emmy award. And every 10 minutes, somebody was coming, like sending flowers and bagels and Danishes. So I was like, yeah, if it wasn't intimidating enough, it was even more intimidating.
Okay, and just to stay there for one more minute, as I said, because then we're going to fast forward. When you think back, you're in a room, you're going, oh, I see, like they've arced, there's sort of a series arc that Michael has come up with. Is it day one of that season that you're joining them? Like day one of the writer's room?
Yeah, it
Okay,
was day
so
one of the writer's room, and for some, like somebody I think had fallen out, and they happened to need somebody, and I mean, it happened very, very fast. It was like in 2 weeks, I was gone.
obviously not gone, gone from New York and not,
Yes,
but not gone from that show.
no, not fired.
Obviously, in knowing you, it makes so much sense because you're so charming and funny and fast, as is Michael. And so I could understand why him meeting you for a coffee and you being able to share your personal stories of being a young woman in the city at that time with relationship mishaps and highs and lows, why you, Liz, like A, were the perfect audience for the show, but also lived experience for the show. When you think back to that coffee, was there a part of you, because you're also a great performer and storyteller from the moth to your own, performance art pieces. Were you, just for people listening, like thinking about how to, if I ever get a chance to be in a room with my hero, um, were you, were you conscious of like, wait, he really, like, as it was happening, were you like, wait, we're getting along. Like, he really likes me. He gets my jokes. Like, this is a great kind of first date with someone who's creative and might be able to be like useful with me. Or did you have no idea during that meeting that it could be for this?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely had no idea that it would ever. Sex in the City was the farthest thing from my mind, and I knew we were getting along, and I guess I knew that I was having to bring it because I did. It's so funny. I did talk about my love life and how terrible it was, and like it did do all this sort of jokes and the shticks and
Yeah.
everything. But when it's a really good question because, but at the time I wasn't like, oh, I'm doing a little song and dance to get on
Right.
Sex in the City. I think I was just sort of more like this. I think I was started it. I think I went into it as a fan, and I was
Yeah.
like, I love the show so much. This is why I love the show so much, and like oh my God, my life is so like that, like I relate to it so much, but I don't remember like I'm going in to give Michael Patrick King a run, like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because it was just like,
It wouldn't have happened if you were. Do you know what I
right.
mean?
Or yeah, I mean, I guess I knew, I guess maybe I was performing for like a future show. But
Yeah,
I guess oh, and you can't, I mean, I don't want to be naive. Like obviously I was sort of bringing it for a future show, but never ever Sex in the City.
never have I ever.
Never have
And
I ever.
you on that show got your 10,000 hours, right? Like you are now deep in this room and you learned how to do it, right? Like there
Yeah,
was
they
a
were great.
structure. And so did somebody teach you, or are you like by osmosis? Are you copying from other people's paper? Like, oh, that's how you start. Like, how do you literally learn how to do it?
It's really crazy because I think what people were saying later is that it shows like Michael's confidence in himself and the room and that he could hire somebody so green. And he's like, yeah, no, no. Like
Be
it's
fine.
gonna be okay. She's not gonna ruin anything. It's gonna be okay. And I
Yeah.
think he needed me for the raw material. Like I think fresh stories, fresh point of view, New Yorker, Brooklyn. Like I think that is like I was aware that I was bringing the raw material and I didn't necessarily have to know much, but it's insane. I had to just learn really quickly about like story arcs and the board and um yeah, and how to make story out of real stories. Like and like beats and like a beginning, middle, and end. And that was what Michael was like. It was like watching a master, just like how he could take something, weird story that we told in the room, and then he made it into, wove it into like a great, amazing story. It was really, that was the most amazing thing to see.
And obviously, a book and a whole like huge cultural moment happened for you because of something you came up with in the room, I guess.
Well, we
And
all came up with it, but I was the one that was like,
yeah,
the book.
wait, guys, for those of you only listening, she looked like a mad scientist
Oh,
for a
sorry.
minute.
Like, what can I scheme up? Yeah.
Um, Now you are running a show that isn't your lived experience, although you have spent time with your beloved friends who the innkeeper inspirations. During COVID, you spent a lot of time out of the city, staying with friends in a kind of more idyllic scenario, much like the show you're writing now. So you have spent time visiting people who've chosen that sort of life for themselves. Um, that being said, you've also created from whole cloth an entire community with your fish out of water protagonist and all of these truly delightful, hilarious people. How did you figure out who would be the best group to write with you and help parse out and give real humanity to all of these kind of ideas? How does that happen?
It is really, I mean, I really realized about a lot about job interviews and meeting with people that so much of it ends up it's going to be luck because you can meet people and they're all going to be charming and then you can get references but until you're with them, you don't really know and you don't really know what's going to happen. And we just happened to get really lucky. So we were looking, my producing partner, Ronnie Farrell, we were looking for people who were super funny, but also had like procedural brains so that because we're still like, it's still kind of, there's it's a medical story. There's mysteries, we have to plot it out. It's 1 hour. So it's like a lot of plot. So we were trying to look like for people who could do both. And so their writing samples had to really pop out, which is, you know, not easy when you're getting a lot of writing samples. But so they had to really pop out at us. And then we had to, when we met with them, there had to be something about them that we felt that they would be, cool in the room, like a good vibe. And we were right. I mean, everybody's fantastic.
And were the writing samples like right for a show called Best Medicine or things they had written in the past?
There was something about them that would, yeah, no, it was like it was their usually it was their sample pilot scripts that they've written, and
Okay.
there was something about them that seemed like familiar to me or that was right for the show. Like there had to be it, it had to be funny, but it couldn't be like abrasive funny. There had to be sort of a warmth to it and
Yeah.
a um a sense of humor about the situations as well, and not just like hard jokes. And there had to be a sense of being able to, build character. So it was, yeah, there was a lot of like boxes that needed to be checked.
How did you figure out tone?
Well, the lucky thing is that, I had written there were two scripts written when we started the room. So the writers were able to know the tone. How I came up with the tone, I have no idea. It really was like this weird combination of, well, the tone, I guess I would say it starts from Doc Martin, right? So Doc Martin had a specific tone, but I wanted it to be a little bit like more obviously funny, even though Doc Martin's very funny, but more obviously funny. If anything I say is going to sound like a slam to Doc Martin, but just for I guess maybe say more my sense of humor. And then I wanted things to be a little bit more relationships to have more complications and conflict. Um, but the tone, yeah, it's always the hardest thing. It's like, and you're working on the tone till your last day on set, because you're also it's like what's on the page, and then it's also what is shot.
And
um
then, so the editor, so you and your editors
and what's in the editing.
are the final arbiters of tone in that way.
Yes. So it
What
really is, it's a constant sort of process up till, yeah, music gets put in and editing and everything.
Well, it's so charming, right? Like it's so charming in the best possible way. I know a lot of people, in reading about it from other people's perspectives, it's people keep using the word comfort and comfort show and not in a very positive way. It is not like a dumbing down of everything. It is very much like, how do we meet this moment? And how does this particular brand of entertainment become a balm, a salve for what ails you? Because you have really created a place where we all listen to each other, right? And people are not judging each other for their differences. They're really leaning in and trying to understand. But of course, you have at the center of it someone who's the least inclined to take time to think about a lot of other people. And so many of us are Josh, right? Charles, many of us are coming in with our opinions and like, I don't have time for this. And we just get to the thing. And slowly over time, they wear him down, right? Like they wear him down, and his humanity ends up, whether he wants it to or not, to just pour out of him. And it's really fun to watch that arc, right? We know there's no way they're going to put on a TV show where he doesn't get there. Like that would just be the meanest thing ever. Talk about this world. It really is like, it really feels like a play to me. I mean, this set is really inhabited by all of these people who could be like archetypes, but they're really filled with humanity and nuance and all of that. So was Josh the first person to be cast and then you built it around him, or were they like, hey, we have Annie Potts, and like which way did it go?
I think Josh was definitely the first person that we cast. And then I think Annie Potts was definitely on everybody's lips like right away. And I was sort of like, but she's so petite. Is she going to be hauling lobsters? And like, but then I was like, oh my God, of course she is. She's the best.
Right. That's
And then
hilarious.
when I saw her on set for the first time and she had this husky voice and she was in her little bib lobster pants, I was just like, it was like, oh yes, this is going to work.
That's magic. That's magic. And tell me about Cree.
I know. Cree is just, it's crazy. We auditioned a lot of talented, lovely, wonderful uh young women. And I think what everybody responded to is just sort of like her comedic sense, but also just how real she felt. And then they did, of course, a chemistry read because that was important. And wait, did now I'm thinking, did she? Yeah, they did a chemistry read. Anyway, it was yeah, it just the combination of of comedy and like very grounded. So like you wanted to, you knew you could like she wasn't just going to be like a one joke character that she could stand the test of time. And
How
then, you know,
do
on
you
set with her, you're like, oh, she's like solid, man. She is fantastic. Like you're like, I'm in like I was in awe of her every second. Like she's just great.
And also, like, she's probably been doing it because she was a child actor, like as long as Annie Pot, like in a way, she has as much experience as anybody because she's been doing it longer than
Yeah, but then
anybody.
yeah, but then you can imagine, you know, that she's going to be a diva or she's going to be kind of like there's going to be this level of fakeness because she's been doing it so long, or there's going to be a polish to her, or that's not going to be so great or something. But no, it was as if both like the talent and the skill as if she's been doing it for a million years, but then the freshness of somebody who just like walked in. It was really amazing.
Did you, because we really are living in a world of self-tape, were you ever able to be in a room with anyone reading for you, or you were?
Only for the, I mean, it's so shocking how few we were in the room with, but for the role of Louisa, that was Abigail Spencer, we were in the room. For Cree, we were in the room, I believe, but I don't know why I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember like walking to the elevator with her. I don't remember it. So I'm like worried about that. I'm like making that up. Um,
It's
and but not Annie Potts. She was an offer. So it was very few. And you know, the Carter Shimp who plays Al, Al Large, he has like this really big part. He's in like I think almost every episode. He's Cree, aka Elaine's love interest, and he like I don't even think he did a callback. I think we hired him off of like one of
You're
one
like,
audition.
I don't know what that is, but I want it.
It was insane. And then later
Good.
on, he was sort of like, "Yeah, I've never gotten a job so easily in my life." I'm like, "I know, right?
It's
What
so
were we
good.
thinking? It gets very rushed. You think the most
Yeah.
important thing, but it can get even casting can get rushed.
Yes,
So
because
lucky, he's great.
you're waiting and waiting. Is your show going to get picked up? And then they're like, yes, tomorrow, right? So you
Yeah,
have to like, and then you brought in like Broadway magicians, Stephen Spinella and Jason Vesey, like two of the most beloved theater icons. Um, and that's a really beautiful couple that you've added to the show.
yeah. They just that it was just like one of the greatest joys was just being on set from day one and just watching their characters like grow and grow and you just watch them get along and then and they're getting along off screen of just being like you know just enjoying each other like to then watching that warmth on screen because you never know if it translates but like yeah, I was like oh yeah no their comfortability with each other really is translating on screen and then they just got funnier and funnier to me they just kept on getting funnier and funnier and yeah it was really like just such a pleasure uh, watching them work and watching them grow. And I wooed Steven Spinella because I wrote him an email because I'd shared a cab with him uh, millions of years ago after Angels in America. So I sent him an email being like, "You'll never know this, but you won't remember me, but I shared a cab with you, and it was like one of the most exciting moments of my life to be in a cab with Steven Spinella after one of your episodes of, I mean, one of your shows of Angels in America." And he, of course, that kind of endeared me to him because he didn't know what I was talking about, but he loved that I was such a fan. Like 20
Exactly.
years.
How did you find, am I allowed to ask where you film? Where this,
Yeah,
like, okay, so where is this place that you have made into a little slice of heaven?
we are in the Hudson Valley, but it is actually a combination of a couple different places. It is New Hamburg and it is Cornwall on Hudson. Is I think the two like exterior locations. I hope I'm saying Cornwall and Hudson. I think that's right. Cornwall. Anyway, and then our sound stage is on in Newburgh, New York. Everything's like 20 minutes away from each other.
Okay, so you've been in upstate New York since the last time I've seen you, pretty much.
I got to go home for editing, but I was there until like December. Yeah.
Okay, so once Josh is your Dr. Martin Best, are you then like meeting with him and writing to him, or was it the opposite? You wrote this thing and his voice like perfectly matched it.
Um, I think I think we started writing to him like soon enough. Like there were a
Uh,
lot of scripts that were scripts that were already written, but even with the ones that were already written, we did have a little bit of an opportunity to rehearse with him, and you did sort of see that like I think what I did to make sure it wasn't my voice, but it was like a new voice for me, that I made it feel kind of very British sounding because of the show, because I had immersed myself in Doc Martin. And then Josh
but
came in and he liked the writing. He said yes to it, but he was like, I don't think I really say this. That sounds kind of British. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And so we did start tailoring it more to him. And then he'd also be like, the kind of jokes I like. And the way I just love this. And I like the way, like, I like when you do this. Can we have more of that? And so it was a collaboration. And he's like the smartest, the most generous, the kindest person. So, sometimes when you work with actors, you're a little scared because they can be kind of a little bit only focused on them. But he was
right.
just so generous in getting the big picture and understanding like
So he's a really good number one on the call sheet.
he is a really good number one on the call sheet. And he said he would be in our meeting. He's like, I'm going to be a good number one. And I thought, famous last words, that means he's going to be the worst, most awful person.
Oh, exactly. But
And
no.
like, cut to me remembering him saying that, and he's throwing staplers at people. I mean, listen, yeah, maybe I'm not a pest. I mean, I'm not an optimist, but he was absolutely right. He's like the best number one.
That's so great. I want to talk about the meta of it all, which is Martin Clunes, the
Oh, yeah.
beloved Doc Martin of Doc Martin fame, coming on your show to be Martin's dad. And how, like, what did it take for that to happen? Was he immediately like, I'd love to? Like, how did that come together?
Well, his wife is the producer of Doc Martin. And because of their sort of agreement, they're executive producers of this show, Best Medicine, as well. So his wife is an executive producer on Best Medicine. So we had a quick way in. But we thought, wouldn't it be fun? My producing partner, Rodney Farrell, was like, wouldn't it be fun for him to do a cameo? And we're like, ha ha ha, a cameo would be great. Because we didn't want to like presume anything. We didn't even think about him actually being on the show. And then when we asked him through his wife, Philippa Brathwaite, if we said, could would he be willing to do a cameo? His response was like, why a cameo? Like, let me be on the show. Like, let me like come and play with
Right,
you guys. So
right.
then, it felt like the only thing we could do, like we had to have him be the dad.
So smart. So smart. Was Josh freaked out by that or immediately excited? Like, what was his take on that?
I think he was. I mean, you'd have to ask him, but I think my memory was that he was like super excited. Everybody was like, "What? Like, wait, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
No,
And
that's
then,
an incredible trick. Like, what a party trick. Like, it's
yeah,
so cool. It's so cool, Liz.
it's so good. And then it was Halloween when we shot with him, and so the whole like half of I forget which. I think it was the costume department dressed up as the two of them for Halloween, and so there's like a picture of like 10 Doc Martens. Anyway, it was very funny.
And
Everybody
like
was very excited.
the glorious Judith Ivy. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, this cast it's really good.
Well, people were saying like the reason, like, because I was just bracing myself again, all of sort of the things I was expecting to happen that didn't happen, but I was assuming like, oh yeah, and then it's picked up, and I'm like, okay, well now I'm gonna have to go to Vancouver, and now I'm gonna have to go to North Carolina. Like, give me the bad news where I'm gonna be flying
Yeah.
time. And then they were like, oh, the Hudson Valley, and I could not believe it. And then the one thing everybody was sort of excited about is like, oh my gosh, the talent you're gonna be able to get. And I was like, yeah. And it was really true. Like people are just happy to be working in New York and you can get
Yeah.
really great people.
And if you live in New York and you're like an hour 40 away from some idyllic fresh air, we're all like fresh air fun kids. Like, please let us come to like best medicine camp. Um, and also the way you left it, I know you're probably just beginning to like think about and break stories for next season, but everybody lived. All of the bests were still alive at the end of their episode, so anything can happen. And
Yes, I
more
know.
healing.
It's a funny thing is like all of these guests we had, They were all so fun and so nice to work with that each one I was like, oh, what can we do for them for next season? And I'm like, well, I have to have new people. I can't just have
Yeah,
everybody come back every episode is like,
yeah.
like I have to have a little bit more imagination. But it was like that. It felt like you just wanted everybody to come back.
Right. But those are his parents. Like
Yeah, that's a good reason for them to come back, right?
consistently come back. What are the things that you think, like I got to do an episode of Divorce when you were running it, and I
Okay.
felt like you are really a natural. I know that there are a lot of spinning plates. I know that like what happens behind closed doors is different than what people in charge sometimes present to the troops, but you always seem to keep a sense of humor and find a way to talk to a lot of different personalities with tremendous respect and yet authority and openness. Um, and and this is different because it really is yours from day one. You know, you're not coming into somebody else's house and moving the furniture around a little. That must be lovely.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Are there things that are still like, I just, I find this part of my job really challenging and I know it's part of it. Like, what are the things like that you love because you're such a community team player, theater sports girly, but like what's the part that you're like, oh, I don't like this part, but you're better at it now.
I guess I would say the 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 level, just the level of work, just the
Mhm.
actual grind of it is really like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, it would sort of you get to a point where, somebody would be upstate for, they're like, oh, I'd like to have dinner. Like we're here shooting the like, oh, Captain. And I'm like, that would mean I'd have to get up at 4:30 in the morning instead of 5:30 in the morning so I can get my work done. And then it was getting like, there was a couple emails I sent at 3:30 in the morning because I had to like write. So it was just like that level of, it was really just the grind was really it's really not pleasant. You can do it, but it's like I can't it's
So
not
there
really.
is no work-life balance.
No. No, and then you're just like the minute, and then the weekend comes and it's like a ticking clock of like, how much work can I get done before Monday morning? And it's never as much as you need, but you also have to have a life and you have to see your loved ones and stuff. So
Right.
that's the crazy, that just the workload doesn't make a lick of sense. Um, but it is true. It's like I would walk on set and I'd walk onto set on Monday mornings. I'd be like, what fresh hell is this? I can't. Like, this is just crazy. And then the minute I walk on set, I'm like, oh, right. There's like somebody that's been there an hour early and they're like all like, good morning. And like
Right.
everybody's like game and ready to go. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great. And they're fun and it's gorgeous. Like, it's gorgeous out. And I go,
Yeah.
what the hell? And I get so happy. But like, my instinct is to be like, what is going on?
But
I'm
now,
so exhausted.
what now? What did you hope people would get from watching this show, and what has made you happy because it's happened in that way?
That is such a good question. I did really think that I really wanted it to be like a cozy little show that people would just like want to like wrap up with. And I did want people to say, oh, this show, like this is coming at a time exactly when we need it, which is what people are saying. So I was really proud that, and I'm proud that it didn't turn out to be like, I know I was also really making sure that it's not like a Hallmark movie, right? I
Huh?
wanted it to feel like, oh, these people are so kind and they all look out for each other, but they're all kind of also can be dicks and they can be annoying and people can get mad at each other. And so I wanted to make sure it's had a little bit of teeth to it,
Yeah.
nothing crazy, but I didn't want it to be just super saccharine. And that was also nice to hear that people were like, it's charming, but not like overly sentimental and stuff.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am so thrilled for you. It,
I'm thrilled for you
thank you.
doing this, being so great at it, and being such a wonderful interviewer, and you're the best.
Oh, well, I love you so much. And I am really like, it's very exciting to watch someone evolve in all the different ways that you've evolved and being on the ride in a very real way. Like you're an example of someone who has stuck with it, right?
Oh
Like
my God.
you've stuck with it and always with integrity and always just writing. And I think that's, so many people listen at different moments in their own creative. I mean, lots of people listen just because they love content and they want to hear about the people making the thing they love, which is fantastic. And a lot of people are on their own journey and trying to figure out, and I think the thing about Liz Tuccillo, my friends, that I think is a takeaway for everyone is that any room she's in, she's really beloved, not just because she's so talented, but you are a person who is genuinely interested in other people, and no one doesn't want to be around that. And I do feel like you have had a lot of relationships that have continued over the years and turned into other working projects together because you're a really good writer and you're a really good person. And that is not always the case. And you're honest and funny and self-deprecating in all the ways that make you so lovable and relatable. But I'm here to tell you, like, at a certain point, you just have to own your success. And
Thank you. Okay, I'll own it.
damn it.
Oh
So
my
before
God,
I
I'm
let
so
you
great.
go, you may not get sleep, but you need to own that. All right, before I let you go, first of all, you have to come on again. I'm just very conscious of like all the things you have to do, so I want to keep it to like a doable time, and then you'll come back
Anytime I
again.
get to see your face, Alana, it's
Okay.
yes.
So what is a little known fact about Liz Tuccillo that you can share?
Yes, I thought about this. There's a couple of boring ones, and they're all, silly. But the one that's like very important to me and very proud of is that I did go through a period where I was obsessed with sort of like circus arts, and I am able to eat fire. I know. It's so impressive. Yeah, I can tell you it's just a really little trick, but I spent time in my mom's house's driveway y- teaching myself how to eat fire.
And you're saying
Like
that after
30, not like when I was 15, like when I
when
was
you
like,
were a grown person,
yeah,
when you say I could teach you the trick, because you've gone through it for us, you've done the work for us. If you had
exactly.
to, in a sentence, say, actually, if you don't try this at home, but if you do, what would be the,
You're breathing out as you're eating this fire stick. So it's kind of like you're putting out the fire as you're eating it. So it's a little bit of a trick in that the fire kind of goes out as it's entering your mouth.
well, that sounds so easy. And like the perfect metaphor. I love you.
I love
See
you.
you soon. Goodbye. And thank you for
Bye.
being on the show.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.